Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the study along of the World Order of Baha'u'llah. If you are just jumping in for the first time, welcome. Linked below, you will find a whole bunch of links to get you caught up. A study guide, a study along, the playlist for this series, and the who, what, when, where, and why of this series of studying together this amazing collection of letters by Shoghi Effendi, the guardian of the Baha'i Faith. And the letter we are in the midst of right now was written in 1932 to the Baha'is of the U.S. and Canada, and it is called The Golden Age of the Cause of Baha'u'llah. And this section is called Contrast with Religions of the Past. And for any of you researcher types, this is going to have some really interesting religious history in this short section today. So come along for the ride, my friends. We may vainly search in the records of the earliest beginnings of any of the recognized religions of the past for episodes as thrilling in their details or as far-reaching in their consequences as those that illuminate the pages of the history of this faith. The almost incredible circumstances attending the martyrdom of the youthful Prince of Glory, it's the Bab, the forces of barbaric repression which this tragedy subsequently released, the manifestations of unsurpassed heroism to which it gave rise, the exhortations and warnings which have streamed from the pen of the divine prisoner in his epistle to the potentates of the church and the monarchs and rulers of the world. And that's reference to Baha'u'llah's letters to all of the religious and political leaders of his day. The undaunted loyalty with which our brethren are battling the Muslim countries, in the Muslim countries, with the forces of religious orthodoxy. These may be reckoned as the most outstanding features of what the world will come to recognize as the greatest drama in the world's spiritual history. You know, that's a phrase Shoghi Effendi has repeated several times in this book, and it's worth memorizing and holding on to. Isn't that beautiful? Greatest drama in the world's spiritual history. I need not recall in this connection the unfortunate episodes that have, admittedly and to a very great extent, marred the early history of both Judaism and Islam. Nor is it necessary to stress the damaging effect of the excesses, the rivalries and divisions, the fanatical outbursts and acts of ingratitude that are associated with the early development of the people of Israel and with the militant career of the ruthless pioneers of the faith of Muhammad. It would be sufficient for my purpose to call attention to the great number of those who in the first 2 centuries of the Christian era purchased an ignominious life by betraying the Holy Scriptures into the hands of the infidels. The scandalous conduct of those bishops who were thereby branded as traitors, the discord of the African church, the gradual infiltration into Christian doctrine of the principles of the Mithraic cult, Mithraic, the Mithraic cult, which is a Roman mystery religion. So the infiltration of this older mystery religion, cult, he's calling Mithraic cult, into the Christian doctrine. of the Alexandrian school of thought, of the precepts of Zoroastrianism and of Grecian philosophy, and the adoption by the churches of Greece and of Asia of the institutions of provincial synods. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. That was a new word for me. Synods, but it's ecclesiastical or governing or advisory body. So they adopted, in Greece and Asia, the churches adopted institutions of these existing sort of models, right? He uses that word, synods, of a model which they borrowed from the representative councils of their respective countries. So Shoghi Effendi is talking about, in my words, how the early church started to model itself, instead of being radical and revolutionary and new and sticking to the letter of the law as like Jesus had brought it, is what the gospel says. They sort of started to model themselves after existing religious models. How great the obstinacy with which the Jewish converts among the early Christians adhered to the ceremonies of their ancestors, and how fervent their eagerness to impose them on the Gentiles. Were not the first 15 bishops of Jerusalem all circumcised Jews, and had not the congregation over which they presided united the laws of Moses with the doctrine of Christ? Is it not a fact that no more than a 20th part of the subjects of the Roman Empire had enlisted themselves under the standard of Christ before the conversion of Constantine? Was not the ruin of the temple in the city of Jerusalem and of the public religion of the Jews severely felt by the so-called Nazarenes, who preserved above a century in the practice of the Mosaic law? So please drop in the comments if you know a little bit more about this history, because this is all really new to me. But I definitely get where Shoghi Effendi is going with this, right? Just talking about all the ways that in the early days of some of the past great religions, they didn't hold strong to the newness and specificity of their faith. They started to sort of compromise with what was existent and politically expedient and that sort of thing. So please drop in the comments if you know a little bit more about this, and add links and stuff like that. How striking the contrast when we remember, in the light of the aforementioned facts, the number of those followers of Baha'u'llah who, in Persia and the adjoining countries, had enlisted at the time of his ascension as the convinced supporters of his faith. How encouraging to observe the undeviating loyalty with which his valiant followers are guarding the purity and integrity of his clear and unequivocal teachings. Now, I'm so grateful that Shoghi Effendi is like praising the believers here, but we have to remember, like, we're still super early in this dispensation, right? So it's so on the believers of today to guard the purity and integrity of his clear and unequivocal teachings, the purity and integrity. How edifying the spectacle of those who are battling with the forces of a firmly entrenched orthodoxy in their struggle to emancipate themselves from the fetters of an outworn creed. How inspiring the conduct of those Muslim followers of Baha'u'llah who view not with regret or apathy, but with the feelings of unconcealed satisfaction, the deserved chastisement which the Almighty has inflicted upon those twin institutions of the Sultanate and the Caliphate, those engines of despotism and sworn enemies of the cause of God. I think Shogi Finny's going to get me kicked off of YouTube for that last bit. All right, my friends, thank you so much for studying along with me. I just want to remind you, of course, to subscribe to this channel. Hit that subscribe button. Like this video if you did indeed like it. Feel free to comment always. And remember, this study along is released every Friday at 2 Central Standard Time. And until next time, I wish you the best for playing your unique part in making this world a better place. I'll catch you next time.